All right, let's get started. Any questions from the last class? So any question from the quiz one? Anything you want to go over or wrong with? Okay, some quick announcements. For this Thursday, like day after tomorrow, right? Our class will be online. So we'll not meet in person. So if you go to the Blackboard, you can find there is a folder called recorded lectures. You see there something February 2nd class or something like that. Watch the video and read the slides, read the books. Okay, for only those areas. And you will need that for next quiz. You also need that for midterm one. Okay. So if you have any questions for the recorded lectures, we can go over next Tuesday. Make sense? And also for this Tuesday only, there will be no office hours. If you have any questions, we can meet next week. Make sense? Your quiz 2 is on this Thursday, right? So go and take it. So you know the rules, right? Go to the Blackboard, take the quiz. If you have any questions, we can talk next class. All good. Okay. So let's move on. So till last class, we stopped here, right? Inventory ratios, right? Now receivables ratios. If you look the formula, you can see that receivable turnover is basically sales over accounts receivable. So this ratio tells us how we can collect, how fast we can collect our sales. If we make any sales in credit, how fast we can collect our sales. And the second one basically gives us better interpretation. If we convert this one in the days value, this actually tells us what is the average collection period. Average collection period. So let's say you made a sales today in credit. For these hypothetical corporations, it takes around 84 days to get the cash for that sales that is made in credit. You can think about on an average, if a corporation make any sales in credit, it requires 84 days to get the cash for the sales. Make sense? Now, what do you think? If this value is higher, is it good? Or if this value is lower, that is good. Lower is good. Why? You get your money faster, right? If you can get your money faster, you may need to invest in your working capital a lot, right? Make sense? Receivables ratios. Asset turnover or total asset turnover. This ratio is also known as efficiency ratio. If you look at this formula, this is trying to tell you by investing in asset, let's say $1, how much sales you can generate. If you buy $1 worth of assets, how much sales you can generate by utilizing that $1 worth of asset. If you look at this example, all these values we are getting from the balance sheet and income statement, right? From the beginning of the slide. If you look at this example, this is trying to say by investing $1 in asset, we are generating 89 cents worth of sales. So this is trying to tell you your efficiency in managing your total asset. Is higher is good, lower is good? What do you think? If your asset turnover value is higher versus lower, which one you will prefer?
Or just be as high as possible.
As high as possible. There is no fixed threshold, like what should be the best value, okay? But higher is better, because if you have higher values, that means you are more efficient in managing your total asset. Now, whether higher is good or lower is good is totally depending on the type of business you are doing. There may be some business that is labor intensive. They may not need a lot of asset, right? There may be some business that is capital intensive. They may need a lot of asset, right? So it is always better to compare across the same business, and then higher is good. Make sense? So this ratio is trying to tell you efficiency in managing total assets. But you can decompose this one into two. Net working capital turnover, fixed asset turnover. Same interpretation. By investing in your fixed asset or net working capital, how much sales you are generating. Higher value is better, and you have to compare across similar business. Okay. So this one is trying to tell you like the type of business you're doing, how much net working capital you're investing. Okay. This ratio is trying to tell you investing a fixed asset, how much sales you're generating. If your business is capital intensive, this may be a lower value, because you will have a lot of fixed asset in your balance sheet, right? If your business is labor intensive, this may be higher value, right? Because you are not investing a lot of fixed asset. All of your production is coming from wages to the labor. So always try to compare across similar business. And always asset turnover, higher value is better, because it is showing you have better efficiency in managing your asset. Make sense? Profitability ratio. This is really important. If you want to invest in stocks, if you want to think about a new business, this is one of the most important proxy you need to understand. Thanks. So, if you look the first one, this is profit margin or net profit margin. Net income over sales. What is the interpretations? By generating $1 worth of sales, how much finally you are able to kept for the stockholders? How much you're finally able to kept for the corporations? This value is telling us 17.86%. So that means if you generate $1 worth of sales, after paying all the costs, direct cost for productions, interest payment, tax payment, paying everything. You have 17 cents for your farm, for your stockholders. This is something you can kept for future growth, or this is something you can use for dividend payment. So what do you think? Net profit margin, higher is better, lower is better?
As close to one as we can get it.
Okay, but is it possible to get as close to 1? Is it possible?
Close to one, but not exactly one.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if you have a business, you can generate close to 1 of net profit margin. I want to invest there. So higher is always better. For similar comparisons, if you compare similar farms, higher is always better. Because it's trying to tell you if you have higher net profit margin, that means you're efficient in paying lower costs, right? You may not have a lot of interest payment, right? Tax is same for all, flat 21%, any corporations, right? So higher net profit margin is mostly telling you you have better efficiency for lower cost. Return on asset. Net income over total asset. This ratio telling you how much you are generating by investing in asset. How much net profit you are generating by investing in your asset. Higher is always better. If you compare similar firms, higher is always better. Now we have to be careful. Return on asset, return on equity. This is also the same thing. Net income on total equity, also telling you how much you are generating on equity. Higher is also better. But the difference is on the denominator, total asset versus total equity. This is telling you how much you are generating for capital providers, both debt holders and stockholders, right? This is telling you how much you are generating for stockholders. So this is the return for what? All capital providers. So this firm is basically generating around 15% for all the capital providers. This firm is generating around 32% for the stockholders. Higher ratio is always better. And profitability measures is widely used if you want to invest in any stock, if you want to compare any business. So this is a really important proxy. And as I told you in the last class, if numerator is from income statement, denominator from balance sheet, you have to be careful. Okay, it's preferable to use average values. You can also do beginning or ending, but whatever you are doing, make sure you are consistent. Questions? Okay, moving on. Market value measures. These are also known valuation process or valuation measures. So before we talk about those, do we know what is book value of equity? What is book value of equity? Where we can find the book value of equity for any corporations? Balance sheet. Where exactly? If you go to the balance sheet, okay. Where is book value of equity? Yes, Alex.
Wouldn't it just be the total assets minus the total liabilities?
Absolutely. And this is basically the value for total equity. For this case here, book value of equity is basically the total value of equity that is reported in the balance sheet. Okay. Sorry. Now, if we divide book value of equity by number of shares outstanding, what it is called? Huh? No, earnings per share is net income divided by number of shares outstanding. If we divide book value, total book value of equity or total shareholders equity from balance sheet by number of shares, this is called book value per share. Do we know what is market capitalization? No idea. What is market cap, market capitalization? Anyone? BC people? How do you pitch shares? Market capitalization. It's a really common word. So do you guys read Wall Street Journal? Yes, no? You should. And I think we have free access from the School of Business. Talk to the Dean office, I think they will help you. Market capitalization. If you read newspaper, they will tell you the market cap for Tesla went up. The market cap for something else went down or went up. What is market capitalization? Do we know price per share? What is price per share? Do you know that? How can we get the price per share? And where we can get it?
Can't you just look up the price per share and you
Where? Search it. Okay, let's say price. They are showing the price for car, not the stock. Right? Tesla price right now 167.96 price per share. Now, if we multiply price per share with the number of shares outstanding, that is market capitalization. It's nothing but the market value. Okay. Now, how these are related? Any idea? Market capitalization and book value of equity, any idea how they are related? How they are related? Are they same, different? Is there a relationship between these two? Are they brothers, sisters? What they are? No idea. When you talk about book value of equity or book value per share, same thing. Total versus in terms of one share, right? When you talk about book value per share, this is the value you have in your balance sheet, which is reported in terms of net cost basis, right? When you talk about price per share or market value per share, this is the value that investors want to put for your equity ownership. Make sense? When you talk about price per share or market value per share, this is the value that investors want to give you, want to pay you if you want to trade or want to put the value. The investors want to do that. On the other hand, book value per share, this is how much equity you have in the balance sheet, which is basically the cost basis. Now, if we take this one on that side, make sense? Market capitalization divided by number of shares is basically price per share or market value per share, which is this one. Is it got changed, the value? Any idea why it's changing?
Ratings have been.
It's right now trading, it's like active hours. So millions of people are trading right now. If you open it up and you see in every second, it keeps changing. So any questions from here? Book value of equity, book value per share, market capitalization, price per share or market value per share. Good so far? Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So now we know that, let's say, we want to do some valuation ratios. We want to calculate price over EPS. This is also known as P ratio. So this is price, which we just learned, right? EPS. EPS means earnings per share. If you divide total net income by number of shares, you'll get EPS. Now let's say we got P18 for one corporation. What is the interpretation for this value? Price over EPS, we got 18, let's say. What could be the interpretation? Is it good, bad? Alex?
I would say it's bad, not sure, but I think that would mean that you're investing $18 to earn $1 back.
Absolutely. It's not bad or good, we'll go there later. But your interpretation is absolutely correct. On the denominator, we have earnings, right? Price. So that means we can write like this. Make sense? To earn $1, we are investing $18. To earn $1, we are paying $18. Now, is it good or bad? That totally depends. Why totally depends? If we compare the price to earnings ratio, Tesla with Walmart. Let's say price to earnings ratio of Tesla with Walmart. Go to Yahoo Finance. How much is P ratio? 55. What is the interpretation? To $1 from Tesla. How much you will pay? $55, right? Okay. Let's go to Walmart. How much? 43. $1 from Walmart. How much you gonna pay? Okay, let's do Pfizer. What is the P ratio? $8. So let's compare Tesla with Pfizer then. Okay. So Tesla P 55, Pfizer P 8, right? So should we go for Pfizer rather than Tesla? Because to earn the same dollar, we need to invest less in Pfizer than Tesla, right? What should we do? Should we go for Pfizer or should we go for Tesla? Pfizer. Here is the problem. When we are comparing P ratio, we have to be careful. We are comparing competitor with the competitor. Pfizer is a biotech corporation, right? Tesla is an electric vehicle corporation, right? We all believe Tesla have a future. We all believe Tesla have a future because going forward, we may rely on renewable energy rather than the traditional energy, right? In general, if they are same corporations, always, low P is better. Low P means it's cheap. High P means it's expensive. The stock is expensive, it's high PE. At the same time, if there is high PE, that also means it's a growth stock. If it's a low PE, this also means value stock. In this example, Tesla versus Pfizer, Tesla is considered as a growth stock because it's inter-industry of the future. Pfizer is considered as a value stock. Make sense? Now, what is a competitor of Tesla? Let's say Rivian, another electric vehicle manufacturing company. They even have no PE because they have not able to generate any earnings. So if we want to compare PE of Tesla with someone else, it has to be someone from the EV industry. It should not be someone from the biotech industry. Okay? Make sense? So, interpretation for PE, high PE means growth stock, low PE means value stock. However, if we are comparing same corporation doing same business, on those cases, high PE means expensive stock, low PE means cheap stocks. And in finance, we always recommend buy cheap stocks, undervalued stocks, right? Makes sense. Any questions about P ratios? Good so far? Now, for these specific examples, if it's negative, we cannot calculate P ratio. What we can do? Because we have to find some cheap or expensive stock, right? Do some valuation measures, right? What we can do? So when earnings is negative, P ratio is a noise. We cannot trust on P ratio because this value will comes as negative. What could be the interpretation? To earn $1, if you want to invest, the corporation should pay you $18. Does it make sense? No, right? So in those cases, it's not valid. We can choose price to sales ratios, which is also known as P over S, because sales cannot be negative, right? If you do business, you will at least generate some positive value of sales, right? That cannot be negative. You can do price to sales, or you can do market value of equity over book value of equity. This is known as M over B. This is known as market to book. This is doing the same thing like P ratio. High market to book ratio, it's telling you growth firms. Low market to book ratio telling you value firms. So in finance, when you say it's a growth firm, that means they have a lot of good projects going forward. In finance, when you say it's a value firm, that means they don't have a lot of new projects. Rather, they will just carry out existing projects. Make sense? One easy way, other than calculating the P ratio, one easy way to differentiate growth versus value firm is to look at the dividend payout. If any firm is consistently paying good amount of dividend from their net income, that's a value firm. Because going forward, they do not have a lot of additional projects. They will just carry out existing projects. Whereas if it's a growth firm, what they're gonna do? They will not pay dividend. They'll keep it, use it for future. If you have time going back home, look at the payoff ratio of Microsoft now, 20 years before. That will tell you 20 years before, they don't want to pay a lot of dividend because they have a lot of new projects. But now they pay a lot of dividend. Questions? Now let's say there is a growth firm with higher PE. How can we really justify if there are two growth firms with both are higher PE, which one has really good growth? How can you really justify? So there is a ratio which is called PEG ratio or PEG ratio. This ratio is trying to identify whether there is any growth or not. So let's say there are two corporations right now trading at high PE. If you divide the P ratio by the expected earnings growth, that will try to cancel out the P ratio. And that will tell you after accounting for future earnings growth, what is the P ratio it should be traded. And now if you compare the two growth firms, after calculating the PEG ratio, that will help you more to understand which one is cheap, which one is expensive. So it's nothing but P ratio on the numerator, earnings growth times 100. Questions? Now, if I flip it and write this way, How can we interpret? Make it upside down, right?
For every dollar you spend on stock, that's how much you're gonna get back.
Get it back, right? It's kind of your rate of return, right? So this ratio is a specific name which is called earnings yield. Okay. So by investing $1, how much you are generating return, right? Can we compare this one with that one? Like ROE with earnings yield. They look similar, different.
ROEs, how much the firm is generating with your money, the earnings yield is how much you're getting back with your money.
Okay, yeah, almost there. Anyone want to add? AJ, yes,
Is the total equity the book value and the price and market value?
absolutely. That's the right answer. So net income is actually the earnings, right? We have the same thing on the numerator, right? Only difference. This is your book value, how much you're generating, the stockholders, how much stockholders are generating on their book value versus market value. That's it. Okay, more valuation process. Sometimes we don't want to trust tax to earnings because earnings are negative, could be, right? Sometimes they could be negative. Earnings could be managed or manipulated. If you read newspaper, you can see a lot of corporations manage their earnings, right? So that's why sometimes we prefer EV over EBITDA ratio. So it's basically EV over EBITDA. So we definitely know what is EBIT, right? Earnings before interest tax from the income statement. With that, if we add depreciation and amortization, EBIT, adding depreciation, amortization, this is called EBITDA. If you can remember from the cash coverage ratio, we added back depreciation, right? And the reason was EBIT is not a good proxy for your operating cash generation power, right? Because it has depreciation expense, which is a non-cash expense, right? Similarly, you could have amortization in your income statement, which is also a non-cash expense. So if you add depreciation and amortization with your EBIT, that means you're trying to capture the cash generation capacity of your corporations on the operations, right? So other than taking the earnings, we're trying to find the proxy that is telling you what is your cash generating capacities. Make sense? This is the total value. This is not in part share. Okay, this is the total value. On the top, we are calculating enterprise value. What is enterprise value? Market value of your equity, market value of your debt minus excess cash. We know what is market value of equity, right? Number of shares times market price. Market value of equity is basically market capitalization. Market value of debt. If you have any bond, if you have any bank loan, if it is traded in the market, what is the market value? Most of the cases, almost all cases, it's tough to find the market value for your debt. That's why we replace it by book value of debt. Because if you have a bank loan, that is not traded in the market, right? Like stock. So that's why most of the cases we will not get the market value of debt. We'll replace it by book value of debt. Excess cash. So now here is a caution. Some people want to use just the cash value from the balance sheet, but it is always better to use the excess cash. Excess cash is basically the cash value from balance sheet minus if any investment needed. You have $100 cash from balance sheet, but you need maybe $10 to buy more fixed. So your excess cash is $90. Your cash is $100, but you need to invest $10 in asset. So $90 is excess cash. But it's fine if you use cash versus excess cash, that's completely fine. But this is preferred. Make sense? So now if you look here, this is trying to tell you what is the firm value. This is your cash generating capacity or profitability from the firm value, right? Real profitability from the firm value. So this is trying to tell you how much multiple your firm is trading from your profit or your cash generating capacity. Higher the value, more expensive. Lower the value, cheap, right? And it is always better to compare with similar firms. Make sense? Any questions from market value measures like PE, market to book, EB to EBITDA? Questions? These two slides are really, really important because if you are taking finance as a measure going forward, your investment class, your corporate finance class, they will talk about those ratios a lot. And they will assume you already learned from the principle of finance class. You all good? Okay, then let's do these two sample questions. You may need this formula for problem 2. Okay. Do you need any other formula? Struggling on any formula? Done. Okay, who wants to volunteer for problem one? Then 500, how did you find it?
I found equity.
So total debt 1,500, so debt to equity ratio is basically 0.25, right? Which means 0.25 divided by 1. Right, so equity is basically 4 times of debt, 4 times. So that means if it's 1,500, right? Now, if you add debt plus equity, that should be total asset. Makes sense? We all got this number? Okay. Then we're gonna write this. Problem 2. Who wants to volunteer? Yes,
I got 9.6.
9.6. Everyone got that? How did you find it?
So you need to start by finding your, EBIT. You can do that by making, 5,000 minus your 2,600 minus your 450, but you're gonna add that back anyway, so you could just stop at your 5,000 minus 2,600.
Absolutely, that's the shortcut. So you have to add this back, right? So that's basically EBIT, and then your cash coverage ratio is basically 5,000 minus 2,600 divided by, what is the interest payment?
Interest of 250.
250. Right? So that should be 9.6. Okay, good job. Okay, moving on. You decide which formula you need, you can go back into in your slide, okay? You decide which formula you need. Let's see. Done. Who wants to volunteer? Yes, man.
So first we would calculate the inventory turnover, which is cost of goods sold divided by inventory.
Okay, so inventory turnover. How much is the cost of goods sold?
12.40,
So 40. How much is your inventory?
400,
400. How much you got from here?
3.1, 3.1.
3.1?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you all got this number? Okay.
And then we use the days sales and inventory as the 365, but the inventory turnover, and I got 117 seconds.
170 point? This is all you got. Now let's talk about DuPont analysis or DuPont decomposition, where we will decompose return on equity. So what is the formula for return on equity? Total equity, right? Now, if we multiply something with 1, what is the outcome? Goes up, goes down, or stays the same? Stays the same. So can we multiply this with total asset and total asset? Right? And then we can rearrange Can you do that? Again, if we multiply this, sales over sales. We can again rearrange net income over sales, and then sales over total asset, and then total asset over total equity. From our ratio analysis knowledge, is there any specific names for these 3 components? Yes.
The second one is total assets turnover.
Okay, total asset turnover. What about the first and third one? Okay, third one, huh? Earnings margin from EM. What is the third one? First one is profit margin or net profit margin, right? Second one is your total asset turnover, your efficiency. Third one, yes, equity multiplier, absolutely. Equity multiplier. So basically, we are segregating our return on equity on net profit margin, total asset turnover, and equity multiplier. This is also known as your leverage. And firm's profitability is a combination of how much net income or margin they can generate from sales, how much efficient they are in managing their total asset, and how much leverage they have in their debt structure. So these 3 factors mostly tell you your return on equity. So these are some real examples of Yahoo and Alphabet. Their return on equity here, profit margin, total asset turnover, equity multiplier. Okay. We can see that in 2015, they generated negative ROE, right? Which is mostly attributable to profit margin. In 2013, they have generated positive ROE, right? Which is also attributable to what? Better profit margin, right? Their asset turnover efficiency decreased over time, right? From 13 to 15, it decreased over time. Their leverage increased over time, right? Now, if I say, assume 1 as an equity multiplier, okay? Just assume 1. And tell me the ROE. So assume 1, same asset turnover, Same profit margin. Tell me the new ROE you got. So multiply this one with that with 1. Tell me the new ROE you got. How much you got for 2015? %87 times 0.110. Negative 9.6%. How much you got for 2013? $8.1. Is it correct? Everyone got this? So what is the factor I changed? Equity multiplier, right? Leverage, right? Now what is the final outcome? If you compare this two and that two, what is the final outcome you can explain or interpret from here? Yes. What value of 1? Something else. So when we say equity multiplier is 1, first of all, what does it mean? What is the interpretation? If equity multiplier is 1.
No leverage.
Absolutely, no leverage. Your all asset is financed by total equity, right? There is no debt, there is no bond, right? That means you will not have an interest payment on the income statement, right? No fixed burden from your operation, right? So that's the implication of equity multiplier, right? Now, if we come on that side, if we have no leverage, if you're really making money, you are not able to maximize because you have no leverage, right? Did you see that your ROE is less than the real ROE? Right? But if you are not making money, good for you. Your loss is more here than here, right? So here is the thing. In the last class, I asked you, is leverage is good or bad? One of the indications is leverage good or bad? Leverage has a fixed burden. This is only good if you are 100% sure you will definitely able to generate more money from the investment. If you are sure my income will be positive going forward, this is good because having leverage, it will increase the final outcome. Make sense? Leverage is not good if you're making losses. It's a fixed burden. You have to pay. It doesn't matter. You are not generating money. You have to pay it. If you're making losses, it will maximize your loss even further. It's a fixed burden. So that's why leverage has a like twofold. You have to understand when it is good, when it is not. Make sense? Okay. Now, if we compare it's minimized. If we compare 2013 Alphabet results, 2013 Yahoo results, what you can explain? Look at the three components, then look at the final outcome. 2013 Alphabet versus 2013 Yahoo. Alex?
2013 Alphabet is more successful than Yahoo because it still has the turnover rate is nearly double and we still have a strong profit margin.
Absolutely. If you look at the three components, even though Alphabet profit margin is less than Yahoo profit margin, right? But due to better efficiency, better asset turnover, final outcome, Alphabet is better. Their leverage is kind of similar, almost similar, right? Almost similar, so no impact, no change. What making the change, even though profit margin is lower? Asset turnover. Or efficiency. Questions? We all good so far? So we'll stop here. On the video, you'll see things starting from here, okay? Tuesday, no class. Watch videos, read slides, take your quiz. And we'll see you next. Sorry, Thursday, no class. Next Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday.